I've been asked to comment, this is Dr. Perry, on the new study that came out on September 30 in the Journal of the American Medical Association by Abella. This was in September 30 of the JAMA. Okay, this study was a University of Pennsylvania study. They looked at 132 and ended up with 125 patients, split them up into 64 and 61 different groups. One had placebo and the other one had hydroxychloroquine. Now let's get with the numbers. 600 milligrams a day was given for 8 weeks. I don't want to comment on that. If you've read the book Hydroxychloroquine Debate, you'll see the ridiculousness of that dose for anyone. And I'm not even sure that there is a reverse tendency that instead of getting a benefit, you get a disadvantage when you give that high doses for that prolonged period of time. Those who use hydroxychloroquine for prophylaxis do it once every 2 weeks. They don't take 600 milligrams a day for 8 weeks. So again, that set hydroxychloroquine up for failure. We just haven't scientifically identified what type of failure results from that long or prolonged high dosage. Remember, the half-life of hydroxychloroquine is about 40 days or higher. So giving 200 milligrams means about 10% will be in the blood in 40 days. Now, if you give 600 milligrams, can you imagine? And that's just one dose checked 40 days later. So if you're giving for 56 days, we have no idea what we're doing to the immune system or to the body. So this Abella study was from University of Pennsylvania. And ironically, the study had 125 patients. These were very healthy patients. And you want to know how healthy they were? As opposed to the Calucci study, this particular study had 125 patients. Not one single one of these patients was hospitalized in a group of 125. So out of those, they gave them hydroxychloroquine 64 and the other 61 did not get the drug, placebo. And it was a randomized, double-blinded, controlled trial, gold standard. Here's a challenge. All right, hydroxychloroquine, unlike every other drug, you see most other drugs, the publications don't tell us the negatives. As a matter of fact, there was an article also written by Scott Halperin in 2002 in University of Pennsylvania. And they were talking about, the unethical nature of studies. I want to make sure I have this right for you. So let's look at, the study in a little more detail. The continuing unethical conduct of underpowered clinical trials by Scott Halperin, Jason Kalowish, and Jesse Berlin. All right, this was in a JAMA also in 2002, July 17, 2002. And they said, if you are going to publish this, like Abella study, done 18 years later, was an underpowered study. Number one, they should be restricted from being published. Number two, in most instances, they are unethical. Number three, this study was terminated early. And if you read the book, you'll see the style, the Gambini style. In other words, a study that is inconclusive and cannot even be strong enough to draw the conclusions it's drawing, is drawing that conclusion and then telling us that it's underpowered. That, my friends, colleagues, is unethical. Why? Let me add something to it. It's either you have enough patients enrolled in this study, okay, to obtain at least 80% power to detect a clinically important difference or effect, or if this is not possible, document a clear and practical plan that humbles your clinical trial and say, we don't have enough. We are going to wait for more clinical trials, and this is our plan to add this to another part of another set of clinical trials and combine it. You must admit that you don't have enough, and therefore, pretty much, you should not be talking. However, these people didn't do that. They actually cited the Bulaware study, and if you've listened to me a couple of times, you'll have heard me dissect the Bulaware study that was done between Montreal, Canada and Minnesota, showing that that study was not right. It was underpowered. It's unethical to then not just make strong recommendations. The power this underpowered study by Bulloware and like this one, they are concluding in what is called spin. And I want to share with you because I saw this. I like this little article in October 18, 2018 on the publication website, thepublicationplan.com. Okay. And it said, spin. I'm using the opposite because hydroxychloroquine, unfortunately, is in a dilemma here. Okay. It's being attacked. Most clinical trials are done with the drug not wanting the people not wanting, or the researchers not wanting people to know that the drug has terrible side effects, so they underplay it. It's now opposite with hydroxychloroquine. Anything that they can find negative about hydroxychloroquine, they quickly tell us. Now, if you're using a drug in a study with young, perfectly healthy individuals, that even out of the 64 patients, only 4 in the hydroxychloroquine group became positive. They were working in hospitals in the COVID unit, and only 4 of 64 became positive. All right. And a total of 8 patients became positive, 4 in each group. All right. The placebo group and the hydroxychloroquine group. But because they're healthy, how does that apply to a 50-year-old, a 60-year-old working in the hospital? It doesn't. And not only that, they generalize in something that's unethical to do and generalize, and they expect us to buy it. Hydroxychloroquine is in trouble because no one is out there to defend it, even though it's being used and it's extremely useful. There's something called a citation bias in Abella study, which is negative trials, and those including spin are used more frequently in that study, that Abella study. Number 2, spin is just using language that makes positive results look negative. Okay? And then outcome reporting bias. So at the end of the day, you can see a study that is biased, and virtually all the studies in which hydroxychloroquine is sponsored by somebody with some money, or a lot of money, is biased against hydroxychloroquine. And when you read the actual studies themselves, you'll see that they are admitting that their study is not powerful enough to make the conclusions that they are making in the abstract. Nevertheless, the FDA, CDC, and the NIH in cahoot still use studies like this, the Bulloware study, to try and inform us. As a matter of fact, the most annoying thing I'm going to talk about in another video is how this underpowered, weak study was used to make regulations that really don't apply and even did worse. This is Dr. Kaxin. Have a wonderful day.